Welcome to this video in which I will show you how you can create this reel from scratch. Now this is going to be like a crash course, you can say, a short tutorial. So you will find how to create this reel, but this won't be a step-by-step process. This is just my process that I'm going to share with you how I edit reels, what goes on into it, the techniques that I use, all of those things. But this is not going to be a step-by-step guide in which I will show you exactly how to do everything. So this is not for beginners. This is not going to be a beginner-friendly tutorial. You need some basic knowledge about how you edit in DaVinci Resolve, especially the Fusion tab. But of course, I will also be using the Fairlight and even the color grading tab. So all of those things will be included in this video, but mostly the Fusion tab and the main timeline will be used. So make sure that you watch all the different videos that I have on my channel before you start with this one if you are a beginner. But if you've been following me for a while, this will be good for you, a good step for you, because this will show you the entire process. I know a lot of you people were requesting for me to create something like this in which I edit more than just a few clips, a few scenes. So this is the whole thing. But this is just going to be motion graphics heavy. It won't be about a talking head. You won't have to edit a talking head. We can do that some other time. Right now, this is the focus for this crash course or this tutorial is simply on motion graphics. Here's the preview of what we're going to be creating in this video. Go ahead, take a look.
Hey business owners, are you sleeping on short form videos? Big mistake. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts isn't just Gen Z's playground anymore. In today's scroll-happy world, you've got seconds to get the attention. Short form. Video cuts through the noise instantly. Think about captivating visuals, punchy text, and trending audio that stops thumbs from scrolling. These platforms boast billions of active users. Short-form content explodes your potential audience, putting your brand in front of more eyes than ever before. Imagine the possibilities. Short videos are highly shareable and encourage interaction, likes, comments, shares. It all signals to the algorithm that your content is valuable, leading to even wider reach. Forget lengthy ads. Short-form video lets you showcase your brand's personality, values, and even behind-the-scenes glimpses in an authentic and relatable way. Humanize your business. Don't underestimate the power of a compelling call to action. In a short video, link in bio, swipe up, product showcases. These bite-sized clips can directly lead to website visits and sales. So if you want to stay relevant, reach more customers, and boost your bottom line, short-form video isn't just an option, it's a necessity. Get creating.
So if you're already subscribed to me on Patreon, you will be able to download the entire project file for this video. So go ahead, the link is in the description. If you're not subscribed yet, you can go ahead and subscribe now. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So right here, we're going to create a new timeline and go over here and select use project setting, go over to format and click on use vertical resolution, hit create. Now over here, I have this folder structure. First of all, assets, then renders, sounds, voiceover script. So in the voiceover and script, I have this is what I'm starting with. So let me just drag in this voiceover right here and let's go ahead and create bins. So I'm going to create one for the voiceover and let's drag this in. One for the assets, one for the sounds as well. So this is what I'm going to start with. This is how I usually start the project. So let's now drag in our voiceover on the timeline.
Are you sleeping on short form videos?
And the first thing that I do is I cut all the quiet parts in the video. So even from the beginning, as you can see right here, then right here we have this silence. So let me trim this. So wherever there is a silence between the sentences, I trim it so that we can be left with only the voiceover without any pauses. So make sure you do this for all your reel edits. Make sure there are no empty spaces within your reels, and make sure to also remove it from the very end as well. And now let's go over to the voiceover. And just one thing I want to show you is that in the voiceover, there were the words being said right here. As you can see, the massive reach, boosted engagement, all these headings were also being said in the voiceover. But what I did was I ended up deleting them as well. So this is just to show you what I deleted from the voiceover. And sometimes you're going to get voiceovers like these where you have to do a lot of editing. So it is good to always edit your voiceovers first. So let's go over to the Fairlight. And from here, I'm going to show you the basic settings that I use for editing reels. So over here, go over to the EQ, and this is the first thing that I do. So double click on it, and over here, just click on the band 1 and also click on the band 6.
Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts isn't just Gen Z's playground anymore. In today's scroll
this is
happy.
how it sounds like. And the reason for this is that we need to just cut the high and the low ends from the audio. That's it. Even if you don't add any other effect for the voiceover, this is it. This is all that you can start with, especially if it is a AI generated voiceover like I have over here. But of course, if there is a real voiceover, a real person talking, there's noise over here, so you can also use compression. This is what I usually do, compression with limiter. And I'm not going to be using this. This is just to show you that this is also something that you can use to clean up the audio. And the other thing that I use is go over to effects and go over to restoration and click on noise reduction. So over here, I just use auto speech mode, and this is just going to help you remove the noise a little bit, and also go over to restoration and you can use the de-esser. So over here, the preset that I use is male ESS. So this is also something that helps in cleaning up the audio. But of course, you feel free to use other things as well. Right now, I'm just going to delete only these two. I'm just going to use the EQ for now. So this is just the basic idea of how you can use the Fairlight for editing your voiceovers before you actually start editing, adding more effects, adding more animations. So this is the first thing that I do when I start editing. I make sure that that is as clean as possible, because once that is done, only then we can start editing. Otherwise, if you have to edit your voiceover later on, that will create a lot of problems, and we don't want that. So this is the reason why I start with the voiceover first. All right, so over here, I'm just going to add a storyboard. This is just to show you that what I do when I start editing is I always do a storyboarding. And this is simply just drawing out different ideas based on the voiceover or the script. And you can also do this with a paper. You can do this on any other software that you want, but this is a good practice to help you selecting the assets before you actually start editing the video. So right here, I also have this folder called inspiration. And in this, I select all these different elements that I find over the internet. For example, these images, these videos, I use them as the inspiration for the edits. So over here, I also have this assets folder. And over here, you can see I've selected these assets based on the storyboard that I did. So let me just drag them into this assets folder in DaVinci Resolve. And now we are ready to start editing. So over here, I'm also going to create a new bin, which is going to be called comps. This is a composition bin, and I'm going to add all these different compositions right here. So let me start with the first one called background, and this is going to be the background for this video. So let's drag in this background node, connect this with the media out, and over here I'm going to go over to image, unselect auto resolution, and change the width to 1080 and height to 1920. Now in the color, I'm going to change this to gradient, and from here let's change the type to radial and move this right here in the center. And let me just swap them. So this is what I'm going to go with, and this is the settings that I'm going to start with. So this is how the background looks like. And let's now also create another composition called text composition, text comp. Double click on this, and let's drag in a text, connect this with the media out. And over here, you can just type in anything, but I'm going to type in the first word that is being said in the voiceover business. And the font that I'm going to use is Metropolis at black italic. So right here at 10, I'm going to go over to layout, create a keyframe at center, go over at 0, change this to 0.4. Now let's go over to 5 frames and click on shading. Click on create a keyframe at opacity, and at 0, let's change this to 0. So this is how it looks. But this is quite slow, so I'm going to go over to spline, select the displacement and the opacity. And what I'm just going to do is just move them a little bit back. So let's start with, let's say 5 and 3. So let's move this opacity to 3. It's gonna come in at 3, and then this one right here at 5. So because the captions are quite fast, so let's start with something like this. So this looks good now. All right. And now also one other thing I want to do in the spline is let's select all these keyframes and hit S on the keyboard to ease them in. So this is how it looks like. Now we can use them again, like these two compositions that we just created, we can now reuse them again and again in our timeline. So right now, as you can see, this is how it looks. We can go over to this, we can change the color in the text composition. We can change the color for even the background composition as well. So that is something that will help us. And right now I'm just going to go back to this text composition, and I'm also going to change the image the same way we did the background. I'm going to change the image to 1080 by 1920 so that this is in a vertical format. And let's change the size to 0.15. So now let's go back, and now let's add in this text composition right here. So this is how it looks like. And now you can go over to this composition right here that we dragged on the timeline. Just right click on open in Fusion page, and now you can change it any way that you want, but this won't affect the composition right here in our composition bin. The only change will be made in the composition that we have right here. Now using the composition is a good way, a good practice for your videos. The reason is that you can reuse them. You don't have to create the text composition again and again. As you will see in this video, we will be reusing this particular text composition and even the background composition again and again throughout the video. So that is something that will help you speed up your editing process. Now, of course, you can also create macro files, but for this particular video, this particular tutorial, I'm just going to use the compositions that we just created. All right, so we're going to start with the first scene, and this is just the image that I dragged from the inspiration folder, and I'm going to use this as a reference. So let's drag in our background and resize this for the first scene. And now let's drag in our text composition. So the same thing that we just did, now we're going to do it for the video. So let's go over to this text composition, and right here I'm just going to change the color for this. So of course we have everything done, the animations are done. All we need to do is just change the text now, and also the color as well. So right now I'm just going to use this image for the color for the video. So throughout the video I'm going to use this image. You can use this dropper to change the text color. So you can see now it looks good. As you can see, this looks good now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just position the text according to what is being said on the timeline. So for example, the voiceover is saying,
hey business
owners. And right now, as you can see, I have positioned it in a way that all these different words, hey, business, and owners, are being placed in a way that come step by step. So this is how I've positioned the text composition. All you need to do is just know what the word is being said, and you just need to type it. That's it. So now you will notice how easy it is to use this one composition and then use this again and again, and this will speed up the process. We don't have to create the text compositions for each of the word that's being said. Of course you can try some variation, but this is a good way if you have to speed up your editing. So you create these composition. Right now for this video I'm just going to use this one text composition, but of course you can create 2, 3 more, and that will help you in speeding up your editing process.
Hey business owners,
So as you can see, this is how it looks. And you can just remove these extras from the end. So we don't need them at the end. We need to stop the scene right here. So I'm just going to delete them. Right click in all 3 of them and click on new compound clip. And you can just type in any name for this. The reason why I'm doing this is so that we can attach these different text into one file. So right here we have this file called business owners, and you can of course use the comps folder to move them right there.
Hey business owners,
So this is how it looks. So now let's drag in this businessman image and position it right here. So now you will notice that once you create the compound clip, it is very easy to move the text now. Otherwise, there will be too much compositions and it will get very messy. So this is also one of the benefits of creating compound clips. So let's drag in this adjustment clip, and
hey business owners,
I'm going to create a keyframe right here at zoom. Go right here, create another keyframe, and I'm just going to zoom this into 1.2. So this is how it looks.
hey business owners, are you sleeping on short form videos?
Perfect. So now I'm just going to use this timeline and create this ease in effect for the text. For the adjustment clip. And also this business owners, I'm going to just cut this right here and position this right here. So this is just a duplicate of this business owner's compound clip. And you can of course right click and click on this decompose in place, and this will bring it back to the original compositions that we had. So now you can go into them, each of them individually, and create new text for the next scene or the next sentence being said. So now you will notice this is why it is very easy to use these different text compositions, and now you can bring them in and position them, see where every word is being said, and just move them back, remove the ends, cut the ends, and then again create a new compound clip for the other scene.
Owners, are you sleeping on short form videos?
So here you can see this is how it looks like. Now what you can do is just simply resize this, and that's it. Resize it from this compound clip. So let's add in this fusion composition. And this image right here, I'm just going to resize this fusion composition according to this image, and I'm going to use this fusion composition now to add the image in it. So let's drag in this businessman image, drag in a background, connect this image with the background and the merge node with the media in. So now let's change the alpha for this background to 0. And in the merge, I'm going to resize this. And now I'm also going to add this below image right here. And what I'm going to do is just simply use the center to change this.
Hey business owners, are you sleeping on short form videos? Big mistake.
So this is how it looks. So what I did was I added this businessman image, I added this below, and what I did was I positioned them in a way that they are coming in one by one. So according to what is being said in the video, I positioned them, animated them, moved that businessman to the side, and then brought the pillow in and then moved it up. That's it. These are simple keyframes that you can do. Like if you have basic skills of DaVinci Resolve in the Fusion tab, this is very easy to do. That's why I'm not showing you the details. I'm just simply telling you what's happening in the video. That's it. So right here, I'm going to go back in, and in the metadata, in the keyframes, I'm going to move this back. So you can use this keyframes tab to move around your keyframes. If you want to change the position of the keyframe, you want to bring the keyframe a little early, you want to move it a little later in the composition. So you can do that by going over to this keyframes tab.
Hey business owners, are you sleeping on short form videos?
So here you can see we have the scene 1 done almost, but let's also go ahead and add in another text composition. Add in another text for big mistake.
Videos.
So that's
big
it.
Mistake.
Same process for the text. Just use this transform from here to change the position for them. And now let's cut
Hey
them.
business owners, are you sleeping on short form
Right
videos?
here.
Big mistake.
And I'm also going to create a compound clip for these text as well. So this is our first scene. As you can see, we created these text, used the text composition that we have. The background was already there. We used the text composition quite many times for each sentence being said. So you can use that as captions as well, especially if you're going with a motion graphics heavy video. There is no talking head, so you can use this again and again in the video, and this will make it easy for you to add new text. And of course, we added this animation with a businessman, and then we added this pillow representing what's happening in the video, what's being said. So it says, hey business owners, are you sleeping on short form video? So the pillow is representing the sleeping thing. So that's the main idea. That's the whole theme of how the video is going about, what this scene is about. So we are done with the first scene, as you can see, and now we're going to start with the second scene. All right, so we're going to start the second scene. I'm going to drag in this background again from the comps folder, and in the background, I'm going to just use this image as a reference to change the background color this time. So this is the color, and let's drag in a fusion composition. Go over to this composition, and from here, let's drag in a background, connect this with the media out, change the alpha to 0, and now let's drag in these 3 images which are for these social media. And now you can use the multi-merge to resize them and position them right there at the bottom. This is very easy to do. Now what you can do is you can add this animation right where the word is being said for this particular social media reel that's coming in, and also you can use the spline to ease them in. So this is how it looks.
TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts isn't just Gen Z's play.
All right, perfect. All right, so now let's drag in another fusion composition right beneath this one, the one that we just created. And in this one, we're going to add in just the same process, add in a background, and this time let's add in this ground. So this will represent the playground, the Gen Z playground that's being said in the video. And let me just go ahead and add this in right here.
YouTube Shorts isn't just Gen Z's playground anymore.
So we need to go back, and actually we can just use the transform right here to position this, change the position right here. And you can use the zoom from here as well. So this is how it looks. So now let's add in the next text composition, what is being said in the video. We can just use these text compositions just like we did before. And this time, this will be positioned right here. So again, same process that we did before. We don't have to again and again go through that. And you can just simply...
YouTube Shorts isn't just Gen Z's playground anymore.
So here you can see this is how it looks. So for this one, we also added this ground image. We added the images for the social media, and we also used the text compositions for adding the text captions according to the words being said in that particular area of the video. So that's it. This is something that's going to go on throughout the video, but you can see how I separate the scenes into parts. So we did the first scene, and now we're doing the second. We're done with the second scene, and that's it. This is how I break down these videos into different parts. Now the next thing we need to do is add the transition composition. So right here, just like we did with the background, I'm creating this transition composition. Go over to it, add a background, connect this with the media out, and over here I'm going to change this to gradient. The settings for the image, I'm going to change this to 1080 by 1920, and I'm going to use this image as a guide to add these colors. Now let's add in the color curves node, change the animation to animated color correct, create a keyframe right here at 0, and then move this right here down. So let's go over to 10, move this back up somewhere in the middle, and then over here at 15, let's move it even further up. And then finally at 20, I'm going to move this all the way down so that this is not visible. So now let's add in this transition on our timeline, and let's resize this. So let's put this right here between the two scenes that we created, and this is how it looks. All right, so let me just move these text into a new compound clip as well, and you can just duplicate it by pressing Alt on the keyboard and dragging in the transition that we just created. I'm going to move this up and add an adjustment clip for the scene 2 as well. And this time we're going to go over to the dynamic zoom, enable this, and click on ease in and out. So here you can see this is how it looks. So now let's go ahead and add in another transition. So I'm going to create the second transition, use the same thing, the background that we did, but this time what I'm going to do is add in a film grain. So with this film grain selected, just click on time lock, and over here in the background I'm going to change the color to red. And in the film grain, let's change the complexity to 16 and the size to 2.02, strength to 0.5, roughness to 1. So something like this. And let's also add in this transform node. So in the transform node, if you use this X to move this, you will see that this disappears. But if you go right here over to the edges and change this to mirror, what you will notice is if we move this now, it will seem like it's not finishing. So this is what we need. Now let's create a keyframe right here at 0 at center and move this over to 10 frames. And let's go ahead and change the X to 10. And in the settings, click on motion blur, and let's see how this looks. So this is how it looks. But let's change this to somewhere around here, the size to somewhere around here, and this is how it looks. And also let's change the motion blur quality to 5. So basically these are the settings. So now let's drag them in, drag this in, and this is how it looks. All right. So let's cut this and position this right here. Add another background just to see how it looks. And now you can use the composite mode to change it, and this will work as a transition now. All right, so for the third scene, I'm just going to add in this vision composition, and this time I'm going to drag in this texture. We're going to add this color corrector with it, and let's just change this to red and make sure this is connected. And right here, I'm going to change the contrast to somewhere around 2, gain to 0.3, so something like this. And also let's go ahead and add in this shape and then render 3D. Connect this with the color corrector. This will create a merge node, and in the shape we're just going to create a cube. So you can go over to transform as well, click on the change the scale to 0.5, change this to 0.5, and right here you can use the rotation to change it so you can show that this is a cube. And in the color, I'm going to change this to red. Now right here with the render, let's add in a glow and change this to 100, the glow size to 100 and the glow to 0.85. And in the color corrector, let's go ahead and change the gamma as well. Contrast, let's reduce this a little bit. Just make sure that the background is dim and the only focus is on this cube. So let's create a keyframe at Y at 5, and then at 0 let's change this so it looks like it's coming in from bottom. Then right here at 5, let's create keyframe at X and Y at rotation. Then all the way to the end, let's just go ahead and change the rotation. So this is random, you can do this any way that you want, but this will just give us a nice background. Now let's add in a transform node, and from here let's go over to 10, create a keyframe at size and also at center, then go over to 0. Let's go ahead and create keyframes right here as well. Then the one at 10, let's zoom in. Right here, actually let's go over to 5, change this to 1.3 the size, and also you can change the angle a little bit, create keyframe for the angle a little bit as well. So this is kind of how it looks like. And right here I'm just going to go over to spline, and then for the transform displacement, just select the keyframes, hit S on the keyboard for all of these keyframes. Then right here let's add in our text composition, and again the same process for the text composition. We're just going to change the text now. So this is how it looks, and we can just cut it right here where the transition is. So the second transition is what I'm using for changing it between two scenes. All right, so here we have the text as done as well. So let's add in a fusion composition, change the length for this, and also for the composition, the transition, I'm going to change this to color. And in the fusion composition, let's go ahead, add in this image plane 3D, duplicate and render. So use this clock image, and we're just going to use this and make it look like 3D. We'll make it look like a 3D animation. So you can use the same thing that we did for the cube using the rotation Z. We didn't do it for the cube, but this time we can do it for the Z. And in the duplicate, what you can do is just change the copies all the way to 10, and you can just use this Z right here. Actually, you can use the X right here to show a 3D type of stopwatch now. All right, but I'm just going to hide this so that the software doesn't get heavy, but you can see how this looks like. And you can use the image plane 3D to add this motion right here, just like we did for the cube, but this time the only thing that I did was I added the Z rotation as well. Change the transition to, let's change this to linear burn. So this is how it looks now. And right here in the composition for the cube that we had, I'm going to add in a blur node. So right here at 50, create a keyframe at blur size at 100, and then right here at 40, let's change this to 0. So this is how it looks like now. And again, the final thing is to add the text using the composition, text composition. I'm just going to do the same thing quickly. All right, so for the next scene, simply add in the background, change the color to something like this. And also this time I'm going to add this image right here, the reference image that we're using. I'm just going to add it, zoom this in, And also let's change the apply mode to color dodge, and then do the same thing by adding in this image once again. Connect this with the merge, and this time let's increase the size, but also let's change the scale. So you can just go with 90, scale at 90, and just increase the size. And again, let's go with the apply mode soft light. Let's change the gain, but this is of course up to you. You can try anything that you want, but this is just to show you that you can use these images to create a different kind of background. Now let's add in a zoom blur, create a keyframe all the way at 0, at -1, and then all the way to the end. Let's just increase it to the end. So this is how it looks. So with the zoom blur, let's also add a film grain, create the keyframe at time lock, change the complexity at 16, and you can just add in something like this, some settings like this, but of course it's not necessary to follow exactly what I'm showing you. And let's also add in this rectangle. So with this scene, what's going to happen is I'm going to drag in this sword, the katana sword. The scene says that short form videos help you cut through the noise. So what I'm going to show is using this katana sword, I'm going to cut the noise. Basically, that's what it is. So let's position the sword at 0.5 or 0.7. Actually 0.5 looks okay. And now I'm going to animate the sword. So right here at 0, let's create a keyframe at angle, go over to right here at 20 frames. Let's create this, let's move this in to, let's say minus 50 or something, minus 40. And then right here up till 25, we're just going to create one rotation. So one slash, you can say, of the sword. And this is how it looks like now. Yeah, and also go over all the way to the end, and also make sure the animation keeps on going for the rotation for the sword. Also add 30 for this rectangle right where the sword slashes. We're going to create a keyframe for this rectangle at width and height from 20 to 25. So we're just going to hide it right where the sword slashes, so it removes the noise basically. So this is how it looks. Now again, the final thing is to add this text. I'm going to quickly do that, but this time I'm going to add this adjustment clip, and I'm going to create these keyframes by adding sudden motions. So you can say like using the zoom and the position to show a movement, but don't do it keyframe by keyframe. At least do it in a way that it leaves a few frames. So give it a space to breathe as well. Otherwise you can also use a camera shake as well, but I did it manually because this is the kind of thing that I wanted. Alright, so let's go and start with the scene 5 using the same background, but this time let's add in the fusion composition right here. And also I'm going to add this background and change the color to this. And for this one, let's change the color to red. And you can now remove this. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create these shapes. So just like the image that you saw, the reference image, I'm just going to use that as a inspiration to create shapes, something like this. So you can just use the height and the width and also the border, the corner radius to change it. And you can also add the ellipses as well to add circles. And you can do this as many times as you want, but this is just to show you like a simple animation. But the main thing is to add a transform and change the edges to warp. Now go over to 0 and create a keyframe at center, and then go over at 40 and change the Y to minus 30. And then let's go all the way to the end and just slightly add a movement to, let's say, minus 32 or something. So this is how it looks. This is just to depict graphics basically. And now you can go over to spline and add an ease in. So this is what it looks like. Now in the main timeline, in the fusion composition, create a keyframe at zoom at the start, and then go somewhere around here. And you can just change this to 0.4. Also create a keyframe at position, and now you can move this up right here. So this is how it will look like. Perfect. So now let's add in this text composition again. And you can also add this zoom and position. The same thing we did for this composition for the graphics. We're going to do the same thing for text by adding keyframes for zoom and position. And now let's add in another composition right here. And this time I'm just going to add do the same thing that we did before, but this time I'm going to create, you can say, a audio interface, and using this height, width, corner, radius, we have this background, and then you can use the another background, and this time the rectangle mask, to add in these lines, and also use a duplicate node, and let's change the copies to 3, and now you can just move this. So now we have these 3 bars. Now let's add this again, a rectangle and a background, and you can use the same color, but this time we're just going to add in a different way by using this rectangle. And let's add these 3 times, and we're just simply going to use them, and now you can see it kind of represents the audio interface or something like that, or the mixer. And now we can just add in these keyframes and change the position for the Y at center. So this is how it will look like. So right here you can see this is how it looks like. Now in the main timeline, let's change the zoom and the position right here. And of course you can add again the keyframes to add this in. So right now this is just cutting in, so we can just add this keyframe at zoom and the position. And then right here we can just move this out. So this is how it looks. Again, we can just now move this into a compound clip. And now let's create a keyframe at position right here, where we're going to add the other scene. So now we can just move this out of the way. You can move this up using the position. And now let's add in another composition right here. Let's resize this and add in this image for this hand using a phone. And now this is going to be very interesting, because I'm going to add this grid warp and show you how you can animate this image. And let's add in this polygon as well. So we're going to just create this polygon around the thumb, because we need to show the thumb scrolling the phone. So you can just create it like this, and then in the grid warp, what you can do is select this and let's go over to 0, create a keyframe at this animation, right click for animation, and let's go over to 5, and you can move this down, and then let's go over to 10, move this to the side a little bit, or you can move this up like this. And then right here at 15, let's move this down, and then right here at 20, let's move this up, and again at the end, let's move this up again. So this will add a animation like this, as you can see. So we just animated a still image right here. Now what we need to do is we need to also drag this in, so we can just use the position right here, move this down, bring this up when the animation underneath it or the compound clip underneath it is gone. And now you can also position this in a way that nothing else is showing. So let's add in the text composition for this scene as well, right here. All right, so here you can see this is how it looks now. But one more thing we can do is we can go over to the background and change the background color as soon as the scene changes. So that can also work as a transition. So right here, I'm going to use this as a reference for the coloring. And you can create a keyframe right here. So this is how the color will change. All right, so for this next scene, let's again add this background, but this time let's go with this orange color. Something like this, something red and orange. And now we can add this users icon to show those users, but we also need to add this background to change the color. So let's change this to, let's say, this color. All right, now what we can do is we can resize this by using the merge. So right here in the edges, change this to warp, and if you use the size now, you will notice that we will have a lot of copies of these. So right here at 5, let's create a keyframe and then go all the way to the end and change this to 0.19. So this is how it looks now. Now we can go over to spline and ease them in, ease the keyframes in. So that's it. That's how it looks. Now again, let's go over to the main timeline, add in this transition and change the composite mode to color burn. And this is how it looks. And now we can just add in this text composition, and that's it. The job is done. So reusing these compositions again and again is a good way to speed up the process. And then right here, I'm going to just add in this blur node from 20 to this position. I'm just going to add this blur node right where the text appears. And this is how it looks like. All right, so here you can see this was quite easy. This was an easy one. And this is how it looks. All right, so for this scene, the next scene, let's go ahead, add in the background. And this time I have this real footage, and I'm just going to use this as a just to show depict a reel going on. And then you can add these different images, the same image, but add them 3 times, and you can just resize them. And we can add this color corrector and change the saturation to 0, change the gain to 0.2. And this is how you can add like an audience, depicting an audience. And this is how it looks like. So now for the real footage, we can just move this in by adding a keyframe right here at position and rotation. Then right here at the start, we can just move this out and also change the rotation to something like this. So right here where it ends, let's select both of these and cut them. Move 1 frame ahead and again select these and cut them. And then again select them. Move 2 or 3 frames ahead and cut them. Now the one at the end, I'm just going to cut them off, and also like this little clip right here. So this is the effect that this will give us. But let's extend this and add this right here. So this will give us like a glitch sort of an effect. And let's add in this composition right here underneath this footage. Go over to this composition and add in these eye images. So we're just going to do the same thing we did for the businessman images. Just use the multi-merge, add in these eyes as many times as you want. And this will just, we can just change the position from here. Add them right here. And in the main timeline, we can just go over here in the composite and change this to, let's say, soft light. And also you can change the opacity. So this is how it looks like. All right. But we do need to move this a little bit closer. So what we can do is we can go right here, make sure that we move this back frame by frame. All right, so we can just go 1 more frame back. Right here, just make sure there's only 1 frame difference between these gaps. So this will give you a nice looking glitch effect. And then right here, let's change the opacity to 50 for the eyes. Also, you can add this transform node to add this size and this angle to add an animation for the eyes as well. So this is how it looks like. All right, so right here, we're going to go over to the keyframes, and I'm going to just change this transformation right here up to this point. And again, I'm just going to do the same. And let's add them in a new compound clip and add in this transition right here. Then let's add in another composition right here. Another composition right here. Go over to this one, add in this background, add in this polygon, connect this with the background and background with the media out. Now over here, I'm going to add in this glow as well and add just a few lines and change the color to yellow. So this is how it looks like. So this is the only different thing I did, and you can of course use the keyframes for the length to reveal this in. So this is how it looks like. Perfect. Now in this composition right here, let's add in these 3 images. Use these image plane 3D for each of them, add in a merge, connect all of them with the merge, add in a renderer, connect this with the media out. Now these are just social media icons. We can resize them by going over to the image plane 1 by 1, resize them in a way that it's coming in 1 by 1. So something like this. So let's go over to 40, and over here I'm just going to use the merge node and create a keyframe at Z, Y, and X. And then right here at 0 frames, let's just move this out. Use this X to move this to the heart position. So this is how this will reveal it. And you can see this is again giving us a nice transition. So right here, I'm just going to resize them, change the angle as well, use the Z. So this is how it looks like. Now in another composition right here, I'm just going to add in this rectangle and create a shape that will just depict a algorithm basically. So you can use this polygon, this background with the color at white, and just position them. You can add this once again and rotate it, and this will give us an effect like this. And also let's add this S star and S render, and this will allow us to add a diamond shape. So we just need to create a diamond shape. So let's connect this right here. Right now it looks like a star, but if you go over to the S star, you can change the points to 4, the depth to let's say 0.7, and this will give us like a diamond shape. So we can add this right here, and I'm just creating a image for depicting an algorithm. All right, so right here I'm also going to add a line that will go through the algorithm right here. So we can position this row from the main timeline. And I'm just going to remove this orange background. We don't need this. So let's go ahead to the main timeline and see how this looks right here. All right, perfect. And finally, we can just add in this text right here. And now we can add all of them in a compound clip. So now this will help us to use this position in the transform and move this out right here. And also I'm just going to add this ease in for the animation for moving this out. And finally this text at the end for this wider reach right here. Perfect. All right, so let's extend this a little bit and also add in this image for this ad and this cross image right here. So let me just resize them, position them, and you can use this fade in option from the timeline, and this will help us to reveal this in. And let's add in this adjustment clip as well, and this is just for the zoom in. So you can just use this for zooming this in. And now let's add in this background, and I'm just going to add this phone mockup and use the same colors in this mockup to change the colors of the background. And right here I'm just going to add this in, so reveal this in from the bottom to the top and add a drop shadow node for this. So you can add a drop shadow node for this. Let's add in another background and add in this shape and add in this text. So I'm going to use the shape in order to reveal the text in. So that's essentially what's going on over here. And right here you can just use this masking to add this in. And also you can use the right on for revealing in the text as well. And of course at the end you can add these ease in for each keyframe. So this is how it looks. Now right here at the end, let's also add in some text compositions right here. And let's extend this a little bit. So of course, again, just the same thing I did before. If I want to extend something, I can just go over to the keyframes and then extend it. So I just extended the background, and right here, I'm just going to add a little more animations. This is the heart images. These are just to show to humanize the business. That's what is being said at this point in the video. And let's add in this text. So this time I'm just going to add a text. This is the first time I'm adding the text within a composition, not using the text composition node. And I'm just going to reveal this in from the bottom, and also I'm going to add in this right on effect for this bottom text. And also you can use the center position to keyframe these hearts as well. And finally, just use this spline to add this ease in. So this is how it looks like now. All right, so moving on to the next scene, let's add in our background. And let's add in this image for call to action. Add in this text composition again. And this time I'm going to change this text composition color according to this image that we have. So you can just drag in this image, select this dropper to change the color. And also this time let's go ahead and add in this glow as well. So this is how it looks. All right, so we also need to move this in. call to action, and you can just use this right here to ease this in keyframes from here, and this is how it looks. So this is a simple scene, but let's also add in a transition right there between these two scenes. Change this to color burn. This is the transition tool we're using. And also let's add in this adjustment clip, and this will just be to add a dynamic zoom. You can change this to ease in and out, and this is how it looks. Perfect. So now let's add in another background right here. So we're going to create a compound clip for the images right here as well, and move this transition up, add this adjustment clip right here, and right here we're going to change some settings for this. So create a keyframe at position, and all the way to the end we're just going to move this out, or you can say out of the screen from the above. And of course let's add in these ease in effect. So this is how it looks. And then let's again add in this text composition right here, position them, and this time I'm going to change the background color to something like this, something red. So let's change this to a compound clip, all these images in a, all these text in a compound clip. And in the background, like I said, I'm going to change this to red, so something like this. And now let's add in this image of the social media platforms right here. Let's position this on the timeline, and let's go ahead and add in a keyframe right here for this. Actually, let's resize this right here and use this fade in to reveal this. And then right here, let's decrease the size of this compound clip and fade this out. And now we're just going to move this up, this clip, we're just going to move this up using the position somewhere around here. Again, let's ease this in. And now let's add in this website image, reduce the size, position. And now we're going to move this up from the bottom, the website image, using the position keyframes. So right here, let's create a keyframe at position. And all the way to the start, let's move this out at the bottom. So this is how it looks like. Let's ease this in as well. Perfect. And now let's add in this fusion composition right here, and I'm just going to use this to add these dots. So let's go over here, add in a text, and you can just use these dots or these dashes. Use any font, any size that you want. Go over to layout and make sure to change the Z to 90. So right here, you will notice that if it looks big enough, you can just reduce the size from the zoom. But it's a good thing if you go back to the composition and change the size from here. And also you can reduce the numbers of the dashes as well. And also use this tracking to make them far apart. And now if you reduce them, they will look good. So this is how it looks. But right here, you will notice that we need to animate this as well. So right here, let's go create a keyframe and write on at 10 and then reveal this in at 30. But now you will notice that this is coming in from the bottom, so you can just change the rotation angle to 180. So this is how it looks now. Perfect. And finally, we're going to add this background. And from here, this is just going to be text heavy. So I'm just going to add these texts right there at the end. And you can add text as many times as you want in the video, but of course, it is a good thing to use these different animations as well, graphics as well. But especially when you're at the end of the video, you can just use text or make it text heavy, and that will make it easy for you to speed up the process for your video. So right here, as you can see, all I did at the end, this ending scene, was just use text nodes. So that's it. And finally, one thing I'm doing is just adding this adjustment clip, And over here, I'm just going to add this dynamic zoom, change this to ease in and out. And this is how it looks like now. So we have done all the editing for this reel. We've done all the scenes, and you can notice how we broke it down into separate parts. We broke it down into separate segments, you can say, into the separate scenes. I was calling them scenes. I was breaking them down into separate scenes. I was adding these transitions between them. I was using different styles for each of the scene. But overall, you get an idea of what goes on into creating a reel and what the process is, what the technique is. All right, finally, we're going to add these sound effects. So I have these different sound effects already selected.
Hey, business.
And now we just need to add this in. So for example, I'm adding this paper swipe right here.
Business owners.
Let me just mute the main track. So right here, this will give us a revealing sort of an effect. So let's go right here, add in the second one. Now the main thing in the sound design, you can say, is that you just need to know where the animation is coming in, and you need to have different sounds. So make sure you have at least a few sounds ready to go, and that will make it easy for you to add dynamic sound design to your reels. So right here, this works for me. All right, so this click sound that you see right here, this is for the text. I'm going to use this for the text. Right here. So as you can see, this text. Perfect. So this is a good sound effect for this sort of a text. Now, of course, you can double it, but one is good enough. And it's a good thing to reduce the volume for these sound effects. So for example, I'm going with -5. Otherwise, it is too loud and doesn't match with the overall voiceover. But right now, as you can see, this looks perfect. So this is essentially what I'm going to do in the entire sound design process. I'm just going to use these same sound effects that we just had, and I'm just going to copy them and use them wherever there is a swipe effect, wherever there is a reel effect, wherever there is a text effect. So for example, for this transition right here, I have this effect. Let me just show you. So this one, so it's kind of like a camera sort of an effect, and it goes good with this transition that we have. Let's add in this glitch effect right here for this glitch transition. So this looks nice with this one. So you can select these sound effects based on the kind of animation that you have. So for example, I knew that, okay, this is the transition, glitch transition. So this is the kind of sound effect that will match it. And of course, then we have these revealing in, swipe in, and this paper swipe sound effect looks good with that. Again, this one for the text reveal in. Awesome. And now for the sword, I had this sword sound effect. So as you can see, this sword one. And then we have this camera for this reveal in, for this graphic that we have right here. And again, you can just copy it. For example, this glitch transition, I'm just going to copy this one right here for this transition. So you can just copy the sound effects. For example, I copied this glitch transition one, the glitch transition sound effect, I just copied it. And now for this paper one, as you can see, basically this is the entire process of sound designing in DaVinci Resolve. Once you have these basic sound effects done, all you need to do is just position them. That's it. And we have this atmospheric sound effect for this transition. Again, this reveal in for this one looks good. This paper revealing looks good right here as well. Then right here we can add this keyboard typing for these text right on right here. And of course, let's reduce the volume. So always a good practice to reduce the volume for the sound effect. Again, this one for the text revealing. Perfect. And you can also change the pitch from here, the semitones. So this will give a slightly different sound. So let's add in this swipe right here, keyboard for this one. Now let's copy this glitch transition. Add in this paper swipe right here. Alright, so from here we will have a lot of text. So again, using that same sound effect for the text, just going to copy it. So the main thing is that all you need to do is just use these sound effects depending on the type of animation happening. So for example, I just selected a sound effect for the text. Now it's going to be the same sound effect for all the text that we have in the video. There can be a slight variation, but it's always a good practice to have one sound effect for one sort of an animation. For example, the text animation, I had one sort of a sound effect right here, as you can see, and I just copied it throughout the video. And for the revealing, so for example, the movement in the animation, as you can see, for the pillow, for the different movement, for the stopwatch, all these different movement of these different elements in the video, I used a similar sound effect, which was the paper swipe. And then finally, I have this. So finally, I have this metallic swipe that I used in the very end of the video. All right, so now I'm just going to show you a little color grading. All you can do is just create a new timeline for this. You can use the same timeline settings for this. And right here, let's go ahead and add in a adjustment clip. And let's go right here to the color tab, color wheels, change the lift a little bit, reduce this, change the gain, increase this, but that depends on you. I would recommend not to do too much in this one. And the one thing that I would like to do is add a vignette sort of an effect. So I'm going to create this second serial node. You can just do that by pressing Alt S on the keyboard. And let's go over to this window right here, that's an ellipse. And let's go over to the circle, click on it. And let's change the softness to 50 right here. And go over to the curves and you can reduce this. Make sure you had clicked on the invert as well, and you will notice that we get this nice surrounding, you can say a slight dim in the surrounding area for the reel. So without it, this is how it looks. With it, this is how it looks. So now this is it. We have completed our reel. We have done the sound effects as well. We have done the color grading as well. And now finally, we're going to export. Main theme of this video, the main idea for this video was just to show you the process. Now, if you want, you can, of course, go over to the link in the description and download this project from my Patreon. And for that, you, of course, need to subscribe. So if you haven't already done that, go ahead and subscribe to my Patreon, because I will be uploading a lot of different projects that I do, just like this one right there. And you can be able to download that. So with that being said, this was it for this video. I hope you found the video useful, and I will see you in the next one.